What does Justin Trudeau truly stand for? Well, apparently that all depends on the time of day, where the interview is being conducted, and who's asking the questions. Just check out Justin's inconsistencies when it comes to those refugees he's recklessly allowing into Canada. You know, there used to be a saying back in the days of vaudeville, namely, when you're in New York, you give them the Big Apple stuff. When you're in Chicago, you give them the Windy City stuff. In other words, you tailor your message to the audience you're addressing. The vaudeville days are long gone, but the cosmic clown act known as the Justin Trudeau Show, well, that continues unabated, even if fewer and fewer Canadians can stomach it. Case in point, do you remember Justin's pledge of personal responsibility should any of his Syrian refugees fail to, well, I don't know, follow the law of the land and do something really heinous? And do you remember what Justin told Lara Logan in a 60 Minutes interview back on March 3rd, 2016? He stated that letting in 25,000 Syrian refugees was a safe and even a Canadian thing to do. Check it out.
I am more than comfortable that doing what we've done, accepting in 25,000 Syrian refugees, does right by both the safety of Canadians and by the values that define us as a nation.
Fascinating. First off, this business of taking in refugees being a Canadian thing to do. Yeah, like in 1939 when more than 900 Jews were fleeing Nazi Germany and Liberal Prime Minister Mackenzie King refused to let the MS St. Louis dock in Halifax, all of which resulted in the death of more than 250 Jews when the ship was forced to return to Germany. Oh, and by the way, that great progressive Democrat FDR, he also refused the ship to dock in the U.S. But gee, what happened to the Liberal government's refugee-friendly policy some 80 years ago? And those Jews were real refugees fleeing real tyranny, not a bunch of parasites gaming the system, sort of like we have today. And as for this open border scheme being a so-called safe thing, well, try telling that whopper with a straight face to the family of Marissa Shen, the 13-year-old who was brutally murdered last summer. Earlier this month, 28-year-old Ibrahim Ali was charged with this despicable crime, and Ali is, you guessed it, one of Justin Trudeau's fun-loving Syrian refugees. But then again, cut Mr. Ali some slack, will you? The day Marissa went missing, she was prancing around in shorts as opposed to being entombed in a burqa. So I guess the devil made Ali do it. But hey, you don't expect this guy to adopt Canadian values overnight, do you? You know what's really perverse about this ghastly crime? If Mr. Ali is indeed found guilty, the life he shall continue to experience in Canada behind bars at a club-fed prison will still resemble a life of luxury compared to living in the shithole country he left behind. Talk about a win-win, eh? But back to the CBS interview. Trudeau was also asked this: what if one of his refugees, perish the thought, misbehaves?
Would you be just as comfortable if there was a terrorist attack carried out by someone who came through as a refugee?
Ultimately, being open and respectful towards each other is much more powerful as a way to diffuse hatred and anger than layering on big walls and oppressive policies.
Yeah, that's the spirit. Sure, an Islamist might decide to murder real Canadians, but it's important to be respectful when dealing with soldiers of Allah because, well, terrorists have feelings too, you know. But hey, that interview was way back in 2016. We may as well be talking about the Jurassic era in terms of a political timeline here. Because here's what Justin Trudeau said to Paul Wells of Maclean's magazine earlier this month.
A lot of people say that, some people say that, if it hadn't been for the surge in Syrian refugees after the 2015 election, guys like this guy would not be here.
I'm not one of those people who says that.
Oh, just look at the smugness. Just look at the lack of empathy for the Shen family who had to bury their 13-year-old angel last summer. Just look at how it is impossible for this shameless shyster to admit he's made a mistake. Oh, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not saying Justin Trudeau is completely void of empathy and compassion. He had empathy and compassion galore back in January for poor little Kola Noman. Remember this crime victim?
This morning, me and my brother were walking together to school, and sadly, someone insulted me by cutting my hijab 2 times, and I felt really scared and confused because I didn't feel comfortable that people are doing this, and yeah.
Oopsie! Yeah, what you just witnessed there, folks, was yet another heap and helping of 100% halal certified takia delivered by another adherent to the religion of peace. This so-called crime would go on to be known as the hijab hoax. But once it was revealed that Justin had been hoodwinked, like so many other political figures and the mainstream media, did he apologize to the Asian community? Oh, not a chance, folks. He actually doubled down on the slander because the PM said that while the hijab cutting fable was indeed a hoax, there's still plenty of Islamophobia infecting our great dominion, which is why we need free speech restrictions such as the anti-Islamophobia motion M103. What a gutless, spineless coward. A man-child who is incapable of apologizing to the Asian community for maligning them. A man-child who will not issue an apology to the Shen family for their tragic loss. And yet this is the very same man-child who had no issue whatsoever in cutting a $10.5 million check for convicted terrorist Omar Khadr, an Islamist who has nothing but contempt for Canadian values. This is the same man-child who cleared his calendar to meet with Joshua Boyle, the convert to Islam, who now faces multiple criminal charges, including beating his wife. Meanwhile, for anyone wondering how it is that our appalling Prime Minister acquired the nickname Jihadi Justin, well, you need wonder no longer. For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Folks, the Rebel has a new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.